I am Chester Dunham, and this is the Dunham Report, a marketplace of ideas and information for labor, civil rights, and other issues of social justice. From the other show that we have a continuation on this show, which we still have the Reverend Lyde with us, and Mr. Crenshaw is right here, which is my co-host. And we hope that we have another good show set up for you and valuable information again for you all that we hope we're going to try to educate you well on issues and various things that are happening. So again, Zach, we are delighted to have you on.
Yes, indeed.
I'm honored. You know that.
Okay.
Reverend.
Well, I'm going to start this show a little different because since it's so many things happening right now at a crucial time throughout the United States, I'm going to go back to one of the individual of old. I'm going to go back to one that I love and read about all the time, and that's the great Frederick Douglass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are now grumbling and we are saying that we're not getting this and we're not getting that, and we're always complaining. And the great Frederick Douglass he said that one of the key things that he said, there are those of us who want crop without plowing up the ground. We want rain without lightning or thunder. We want the ocean without the roar of its many waters. He said, but there must be a struggle. Power conceived nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. It's going to always be a struggle. And again, Douglass said that you may not get what you pay for, but you will certainly pay for all you get. And that's what we see now with people grumbling and fussing and don't want to make sacrifices and these kind of things all around us. So we're going to start out with this, and let's kick off with in a sense where we left off, and that is elections, because this is election season. I think one of you all, I think it's you, Mr. Crenshaw, either you, Zach, said that we have 73 or 74 more days or something like that before.
Yes, sir, that's about right, about 73, 74 days.
All right. So now that is that crucial time. And we got to win this midterm election. Just came back, and we're going to talk about that later because I just came back from a conference recently, and I want to share some of that information with you all. But let's talk about the state of Georgia. And let's talk about Georgia midterm election, state and national office. We have national office. We don't have no U.S. senator to vote for because we just got through with that the other day. But we do have, throughout the state of Georgia, we have several, because now they're all up for grab. So now state district seat, which is Congress people who are going to Washington to represent us. Zach, we're going to talk about the first district in a few minutes because that's the district in our area.
That's right.
But then in Atlanta area, which I was got through talking to a lot of people, and we communicate with them all the time, which they have key seats that they are focusing on. They figure that the other ones that's in place will go back. So they figured the 6th district in the Atlanta area and also the 7th district. And then we're talking about the 1st district. So we are talking about adding on the Democrat column side, another 3 seats if we can get it, and we think that we can do this. Now that's dealing with the national. And then we got statewide office.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another thing that a lot of people don't pay a whole lot of attention to sometimes. But this time, we always have a lot of good candidates who are running for office. And so now we're talking about statewide elected position. We're not talking about the state representative or the state senator. We're talking about all of these other positions. And the position I'm talking about will be the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, commissioner of agriculture, commissioner of labor, commissioner of insurance, state school superintendent, attorney general, and public service commissioners. These are statewide seats that candidates are running for, and we figure that we can make some changes there. Before we leave from that, I want to hear a response from you guys on that situation. What you think?
Well, I wasn't really listening too much there. I was concerned about this ruling we give me about the Supreme Court, so you're going to be passed on that one, okay?
Well, I would like to say that in the statewide election, I'm encouraged because I do believe that this is the year of the woman. I do believe that women have gotten tired of the idea of men just deciding that they're going to rule and super rule and keep this mess going that the way they have for such a long time. I like the fact that there's this young woman from Mississippi who went to Spelman College, who is running for governor for the state of Georgia. And my hope is that the guy with the gun, Brother Kemp, would get on the stage with her so she can make him look like a fool. Because she is one of the most intelligent human beings I have ever listened to. I would say that she's very close to being a Bishop William Barber. They are some tough folk out there these days, and Representative Stacey Abrams is one of the most intelligent, powerful women. I just learned of this young woman that's running for lieutenant governor, who's being endorsed by Stacey, and I just found this lady by the name of Janice Law from out of Coweta County, Newnan, Georgia. She's running for the insurance commissioner. And I'm going to tell you something. Insurance rates are too high. Car rates are too high. Health rates are too high. And if we don't pay attention to what this young lady is saying, to put her in a position to become the insurance commissioner, we have ducked our responsibility. Public service commissioners, we have just gotten an issue from Plant Volga where they want to deal with overcross run of $2 billion so that Southern Company can in fact fleece you again. Public service commissioner is extremely important because in my county they trying to turn the water into a public utility, and if you ain't got no water, you ain't got no life. So what we got to do is we got to seriously have that education piece that you've been talking about, Brother Dunham, on what we educate people on why it is important for them to vote. Not because somebody looked good, not because their literature looks good, but because what they have done is they decided to work with us to get the message that is proper for the community. And I'm talking about, when I'm talking about the community, I'm talking about the whole community. I ain't talking about just our community, because we can't win no election by ourselves.
No.
We need a coalition, and so that's why In Glenn County, we started what we call a coalition values team think tank for the purpose of coming up with the right message, the right messengers, and money. You can't do this thing without money. We have been trying to win elections with volunteers. That's what slavery is. Ain't you tired of slavery, Mr. Crenshaw?
I've been tired of it for a while now. Really got a little upset about it. But let me just say a few things here. I'm just so hoping that we do get out and get the vote out, we men. I keep bringing that up over and over again because I do believe that we are the problem. Stacey Abrams, I got a chance to interview her when she was down here before. She's a very brilliant person. And I agree with you. I think the white people are afraid of her. They're afraid of what they claim they're going to see. They're going to see a very educated woman. They're going to see a woman who has drive, a woman who can get things done. A lot of people, that is in contrast to what we see in Washington right now. We have a lot of white men who can't get anything done in Washington. Okay? And that's what they're most frightened of, a black woman who can get things done. If you thought they were frightened of Hillary Clinton, you let somebody like Stacey Abrams get in there. They really have something to be concerned about.
I can tell you this, Mr. Crenshaw, and this is no joke. I come from one of them little old country places down on the coast. I'm a proud Gullah Geechee. And down there, we ain't never had the kind of enthusiasm that I saw Saturday night. And trust me, there was a meeting where there was over 300 people, okay? And basically they were there because they wanted to raise the profile of all of the folk who run it on a state level and the local level. But listen to me good when I tell you, white folk ain't scared of Stacey. We had over 250 of the people who was there was white. The 100 folk in our community was black. Okay, let me explain something to you. This is a time that is different than any other time that I've witnessed in the state of Georgia. My mother ran for mayor in my hometown against the biggest racist that ever lived. In 1977, she made me her campaign manager. She only lost by 72 votes. But I ain't never seen this kind of enthusiasm to bring about a change in a state. It's all over this place. Trust me.
I'm hoping and praying God help us.
We was in Glenville, a little town in Tatnall County, where my favorite hero is Tunis Campbell. Tunis Campbell in 1868 represented McIntosh County, represented Liberty County, and Tatnall County. So that's my favorite Negro, okay?
Be careful.
Let's talk about, and this is political education, we're going to talk about the 159 counties.
That's right.
That we have to capture.
Say it again, my brother.
The state of Georgia, 159 counties.
That's right.
And directly we're going to talk about 17 counties in this area.
That's right.
But the key thing is that we are talking about 236 individuals. That's state senators and state representatives. That's all of the elected officials in the state of Georgia, plus the governor. That's what we're going to be talking about. Right now we have in office, we mentioned this before, 36 Republican on the Senate side, 18 Democrats. So now we need to change that and divide this thing up, put some more Democrat in the Senate.
That's correct.
The state of Georgia. We have 118 Republican on the House of Representatives, 118 Republican, and then we got out of the 180, it's 180 total, then we got 72 Democrat. So we got that's what we're talking about again, even this thing up locally in the state. Then we got to deal with the Washington situation. We talked about that earlier because I think we have 13 House seats, right?
That's right.
In the state of Georgia, and we have 8 Republican and 5 Democrat.
Right.
what they're predicting, if our prediction is right, that we can get 3 to 4. We want to at least get 3 to 4. And that will change that, if we can do that. Now let's talk about the first district,
All right.
which was a district that when I first got on the political scene, real young, just greenhorn, just starting. But it was a good person there, and that was Bogan.
Absolutely, brother. Out of Jenkins County.
I'm Bogan with the Harris Neck Project and what have you. We went to Washington and stuff. And for a week, I went to, and I was in the labor movement. I was fresh starting out, but I was tough as nail. Bogan, I went to his office every day. Bogan had a speaking engagement in Savannah. I think he had to speak to the might have been the chamber group or something, but anyway, he had to do a speech. And he couldn't get here.
Okay.
So he had to speak from up there. And when he came on, and they got everything set up for him to speak, and he said, I got one of y'all homeboys here, I got a young man here, and I'm gonna tell you who he is. And that's, he was ILA Local 1414, Chester. And they said, what? Chester up here? I said, yeah, he right here by me. And so he went on and he spoke. And then from that time on, I was involved with so many things. If I needed Bogan for anything, any event, any project, anything, all I had to do was call him and he'd show up.
Absolutely.
He'd be there.
Absolutely.
Lindsey Thomas was
The next one.
next one. He was all right too, but he still wasn't a Bogan.
No, he
Bogan was my favorite. Bogan was it. Then Jack came along later, and
Wow.
I like Jack as an individual. I still like him as an individual. But in the political arena, no, because Jack is on the other side. And that's just what he is, and we talk about this all the time. And if Jack was no count, he don't have to change from a Republican, but if he had changed from his way of voting and this sort of thing, yeah, I would have supported him and stuff like that. But he just isn't. He the other way.
That's right.
And he proved that when he went on now not in office and with Trump in that group. So anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this upcoming election.
Okay.
Where the young lady Lisa
Rain.
is running.
Right.
And she have a good message. She would be good for the first district and representing the people. And we got to support her. We got to get her in office. And
She's working
now,
hard too, my brother.
yeah, and I'll tell you another thing, Lyde. Zach, we got to, next week we're gonna be getting together because we're gonna tie these little rural districts together.
We decided we were going to do that.
That's
right.
exactly right, because we're gonna go into the district and the communities, and again, we get Mr. Crenshaw with us and stuff, we go in the areas, find out who the key people in those places,
Amen.
talk to them and help get them set up and whatever, what we are doing, and move forward. We get into a community or district and find out whether you're white, black, or who. Doesn't matter. We want to know who got the right message and to do the right thing and organize them people to get in touch, get with them. And that's how we have moved the rural and the urban on
That's right.
and tie in with the city. Just don't look at Savannah, which is the largest. Don't look at Glenn County, which is your area, which is the next one. We're looking at those, but I'm just talking about just all the time. We want to get these rules, these
Absolutely.
small places, and that's what we have to
I
do.
think that is the key to winning.
Okay.
That is the key to winning, and make sure that everybody feels that they are pulling from the same group and no one is out by themselves. A lot of the time you get people out of the road where they feel that they're all by themselves, but they really are not.
One of the things that I've learned in this particular election is that people want to do the right thing now because they've seen so much corruption coming from both local and state and national. And the thing that happened with Lisa Rain, Stacey Abrams, the whole group except one or two people who might have been representatives in the past and might want to have some of that old kind of way of doing things. But these new folk, they are energetic, they're intelligent, they want to do it from a coalition standpoint. They want to make sure that what happens is that the resources that are needed in communities get there. And Brother Chester, you one of the keys to us being able to have those resources so we can get our message out there. We need to get down, get the right message, get the right messengers, and get the right resources. We don't need to beg these folk who running for money.
No.
That's where the corruption comes.
That's right.
What we do is we go out there and a few preachers or a few people go and get a few dollars from somebody, and then they sit down and do nothing. We've got to have the message, the messengers, and the money, and you're the key to it, Chester.
Okay, right here I'm holding in my hand. This is a summary. Tell them what that is, Wes.
2018 legislative summary.
And that's what he is saying. This is what they just got through, what it says, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Okay.
It is signed by Governor Deal, and it's 96 pages
Okay.
of what they did last year.
Last year.
And we're going to talk about some of that stuff in a few minutes.
Okay.
And we're going to make sure that we're on the top of this sort of stuff here. And they'll be talking about Georgia now. And the people who we just talked about just a few minutes ago who are running for office, who are in office, and the ones who are running, the incumbent, and trying to get their seat back. But anyway, we're going to talk about a couple of them. But this is what I wanted to show you all. But the main thing is that last year, Zach just talked about it and Wes talked about it. But for the last couple of years now, and we just started with them, but it's the Reverend Albert Love and the group around Atlanta, which is doing a lot of positive stuff. And so we team with them. We done been to Atlanta twice for various type of program. And what we did, so we're teaming with them doing some of the same identical thing. But we can't be going up in their area all the time and they're coming back down to us. We have to be doing some of the same thing, and we're doing some of the same thing in these areas.
That's
just
right.
like I just came from that conference the other day. People are spread out through the United States doing some of the same
That's
thing
right.
that we are doing, and we are talking about if we're going to be successful in this midterm election. Now, let's talk about the Green Light think tank. And that's when we're talking about that, we're talking about all of Georgia and the groups coming together.
Yes, sir.
And we are still adding on and bringing groups in. We're still out there trying to bring us all together as one. Now, just recently, Zach, we just got off a conference call with a group of people around Georgia and especially around Atlanta. And these were some of the things that we were talking about that to make sure that happens the upcoming year when these people get back and go to work. And so they got some key things on the agenda that we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to just read off a few. And there's to focus on economic, business opportunities, and good jobs.
Amen.
And good jobs.
Good ones.
See, they're talking all the time about jobs here and there, but a person got to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. He still ain't got nothing.
Well, you know, one of the things that I have to tell folk is slaves had jobs now. Be careful. I'm talking about the notion of the lowest unemployment rate in the history of America. That's a big lie. When slavery existed, all of us worked. So you can't tell me that we at the lowest point now. No, our lowest point was when everybody was working for nothing. That ain't what we talking about. We talking about the idea that what needs to happen is good paying jobs.
Good paying jobs.
Okay, they got on the list here, federal, because we're going to be talking about federal, state, and local.
Yes, sir.
Federal, and we're not talking about handout. This is the taxpayers, our dollars.
It's whose dollars?
Our dollars.
Our dollars. There you go, brother.
All right.
Not getting
And we're
nothing.
sick and tired of the way we are being cheated and the way it's being spent.
That's right.
So what we are talking about now is to increase capital and contracts for small black businesses.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna be talking about these things back and forth, and again, education. Because we're gonna be talking to these people on the federal level now. We just got through talking about trying to get some more of them in office.
That's right.
So in a sense, we're gonna be coming back, this is the agenda, this is what that you're supposed to do.
That's right.
That's why we send you here
That's
to
right.
do these things, so we want our fair share. So that way, we're gonna talk about that on the federal level. Now, we're gonna come back and the second thing is that they are asking, and this is federal, to waive student loan debt credit. Now, this is something for key youth, young people.
That's right. And families.
And we just had a few minutes ago about political education. Now, we just said that Douglas said there are those of us who want crop without plowing up the ground.
That's right.
So now this something here is for young people, their future. What they need to be doing is getting out here, getting people registered, getting people to the poll to support issues and things that you want.
That's right.
Can't sit your tail home and don't do nothing and think these things gonna happen. This is which, and you talk about the parents and youth and what have you, educate them, and these are things that we gotta do.
That's right.
Y'all wanna say something on that?
Well, you know, one of the things that I can assure you is that on the federal level, we were supposed to have this straightened out in 1865 when Reconstruction came along.
All right.
And you and I have been talking about something that almost got us there.
Oh, yes.
And that was when Sherman marched to the sea.
That's right.
And them 20 black preachers sat down with him and he asked, what could he do after messing them up? What can you do, can I do to make it right? Sherman said.
But, I got to stop you.
Okay.
Sherman, listen good, and that's education. Sherman was more like taking orders from the key person.
Oh, he was a racist.
Well, it's not so much about Sherman a racist, and he did some good things. It was the Secretary of War. He was an abolitionist
That's correct.
who Lincoln sent here to Savannah to meet with Sherman to make these things happen. This wasn't Sherman.
Well,
This
Sherman,
was the Secretary of War.
yeah, but he
Sent
Sherman,
to that.
but Sherman was trying to fight off the Secretary of War
that's
because
true.
he was coming down
That's
to
true.
to evaluate the mess
That's
that Sherman had made.
That's true, but all of this was planned and was dealt with the right way. I
That's
said,
correct. It was.
Like Crenshaw told me a lot of times, said, if Lincoln wasn't assassinated and this and that, wonder where would we have been? We had made all kind of more progress if it wasn't for that, but they stopped us there. But that's the key thing, but then we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that whole thing that you're talking about from top to bottom.
About them 20 preachers.
Oh yeah.
Because once you
We're
have
gonna do that.
once you have preachers demand, this is what they demanded: give us land and leave us alone. Ain't that what they demanded? That was the bottom line on what they did. Give us land and leave us alone. So what happened is that's economic development from the ground up.
And we're gonna get on it, but we're gonna do something with that, but we can't do it.
I just want to insert here that, you know, I'm not a favorite person of Lincoln, because I thought Lincoln made a big mistake when he didn't hang all of those Confederate generals and people. We would be dealing with their kids today.
Well, I'm going to say this to you, Mr. Crenshaw. We got to get rid of this election this time, just this time, and then we'll have that conversation after.
Okay, you just mentioned something a few minutes ago, Zach, and it's in here. Restore Section 4 of of the 1965
65
Voting
Voting Rights Act.
Mr. Crenshaw,
That's
they're
right.
attacking us now. So I want you to read, you listen good, viewing audience, to what he is reading. Then we're going to discuss this thing. We're going to talk about what they're doing to us right now, today, in the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
This is the Supreme Court decision that sets voters' right back by 50 years. Shelby County versus Holder is a landmark United States Supreme Court case regarding the constitutionality of two provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Section 5, which requires certain states and local governments to obtain federal pre-clearance before implementing any changes to their voting laws or practices. And Section 4B, which contains the coverage formula that determines which jurisdictions are subjected to pre-clearance based on their histories of discrimination in voting. On June 25, 2013, the court ruled by a 5-4 vote that Section 4B is unconstitutional because the coverage formula is based on data over 40 years old and therefore is no longer responsible to current needs. Thus, the current coverage formula may no longer be used to subject jurisdictions to Section 5 pre-clearance. The court did not strike down Section 5, but without Section 4B, no jurisdiction will be subject to Section 5 pre-clearance unless Congress enacts a new coverage formula.
Now, you heard what he just said, that they didn't touch Section 5. But you got to understand this thing, it's political education again. You got to really understand it. Section 4 is the hurdle. In other words, if you cannot, you got to get over, if you're in a race, and if you can climb a mountain or a hill, and if you can't get over there to get to Section 5 to win, you can't get to Section 5. So what's happening here in this situation is dealing with Section 4. So what the court did, another Supreme Court that stacked the wrong way, took out, in other words, they overruled Section 4.
4B, right.
Now, my wife just told me today or something, said somebody told her the other day, but somewhere in Chatham County. Now, Chatham County been being pretty good so far as with the voting rules and all these kind of things, because I deal with those folks all the time. I didn't have too much of a problem or get it solved with them. I don't know, Mr. Russell Bridges, he coming on the show, and I know he listen. If you listen to me, he can listen to me. But Section 4, let's say for instance, right now, if this true in Savannah area, and you go to a precinct where you vote, let's just say Zack vote here, Wesley vote another place, and I vote another place. So Zack go to where he vote at, and that place is, and this is a fact. This is what's happening with the Supreme Court and the Voting Rights Act. So in Zack area, it's people who are low income and other kind of things, and predominant black. So therefore, they might put any kind of raggedy machines and different things in here. And you get there and you got a machine and it ain't working right. They don't give you the information and intelligent help and people that you need. They just don't care whether you voted. So they're discriminating against you. West, my own might be a little different on mine. When I walk in there, it's predominant white. Everything is good. All machine, no problem whatsoever. So these are the type of things that under Section 4, that's the hurdle that they knocked down the other day. Now, if we could get over Section 4, we didn't have that problem with Section 4. Now, Section 5 would take care of all of this. You can come into Section 5, and you go in there, they got them on raggedy machine, you can file a suit against them, they straighten it up right there, or better.
Yeah.
A lawsuit would be on them, all of these things. That's the hurdle. That's what's happening in Section 5, which they knocked down and you can't get there. And this is what we are fighting in the courts today with that section. And this is what these organizations, NAACP and other organizations, and Randolph Institute, all of us is fighting this thing right now. to make sure that these barriers are taken down. Because when Lyndon Johnson signed this bill, he signed it that the Voting Rights Act and everything would be protected for everybody to have a fair chance in voting.
I want you to think about what really happened here though. Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Right.
Now, do you know that the reason they had to deal with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is the same reason that they dealing now in our community with purging folk from the vote, rolls, moving precincts and saying that this precinct ain't here no more. Voter suppression in every county. Taking folk into court to say that what they're doing is that they're committing fraudulent acts. They are doing everything they can to make sure that what happened is the formula that they had in 1965 is the same formula that they had that they used for lynching. See, lynching was the key at that time. So what happened now is, since they can't lynch, they went to what they call the coverage formula in 4B. Okay? Now they're saying the coverage formula is no longer useful. You don't have no need for 4B because y'all walked and marched and sang and came up with the idea that y'all overcame. And since y'all overcame, they said that the voting right, the coverage formula wasn't no more good, so that they didn't need to have the pre-clearance thing. Now what we need to have right now is, that's right, what we really need to do, because I'm going to tell you something. Shelby versus Holder is coming directly out of Alabama, where Sessions is from. That's where they started all this mess. And what we need to do is come to an understanding. What we need to do is come to an.
Say it again from where he's from.
He's from Alabama. What position he got? Right now, the position he got is the Attorney General of the United States of America, and everything he's doing is to make sure that we stay in prison. One, that what they do is that they make sure that the vote is suppressed. They want to make sure that what happens is you cannot have an easy access to voting. That means that what you need to do in terms of education is go back to the old formula that we have and come up with the idea on why the Voting Rights Act had to come in being in the first place. And that was because of lynching, voter intimidation, poll taxes, everything you could name, they put in position to prevent you from voting. Now you helping them by not going out there to vote.
And Zach, you need you are West one to tell them some more, because number one is that like you said, poll tax and all this kind of stuff. But what happened is that, and it wasn't nothing in 1865 and what have you, is that when black male was just got a clearance to vote, the only one had the opportunity to vote, but they understood, they used that.
That's right.
And they started voting in high numbers.
That's correct.
Till they started out voting the white. And they said, we got to do something to stop it.
Amen.
So that's what they did. That's what they did. They did poll taxes, all those kind of things. Grandfather clause.
Well, let me say this to you too now.
Grandfather put all of those things into place and what they did. And so, because black was out voting them. So now I'm going to say this and then I'm going to turn it back over to you. So what happened is, this day and time, what that group is looking at, they're going to be, they might be the minority now.
I'll agree with that.
See,
they looking at the time.
That's right. So that's why they're trying to set up things in place, making it difficult for the people who was eligible to vote and the stuff like that, to cut them off at the path, brainwash them and all this kind of stuff, and we're not taking the advantage of it.
Well, I can tell you this, and that's why it is extremely important. Don't forget now, they didn't want women to vote either.
Oh, no.
Okay? Women's suffrage only came in I mean 1920.
1920.
Okay, but they still
19
weren't.
and 20.
They still did not have the right to vote.
Oh, no.
It was only until the 1965 Civil Rights Act came into existence
That's right.
that what happened is the law forced the federal government to force the oppression of women, men, and everybody else to allow us to vote. And that took people dying for that.
That's right.
If people had to die for that, guess what would happen? You wouldn't have to worry about this. We wouldn't be talking about it now. People, 4 little girls got bombed to death in 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. We have had black and white people during the freedom marches get beat to pieces, coming down to get folk to vote. There's a white girl by the name of Viola Lueza. Well, I can't pronounce it, you know. Yeah, she was a Unitarian Universalist from Michigan. They killed her on the road back. We ain't talking no game here.
No, we're not.
These folk are serious about you not being able to get part of the tax dollars that you done put in. When you buy candy, you pay taxes. When you buy liver, you pay taxes. Everybody in this country is taxpayers. We need to get some of that money back into our community.
And if you study history,
yes, sir.
True history, the framers
That's right.
who came over here and wrote these laws and rules and put in place, they was trying to get from under the British
I'm
rule,
trying to tell you.
who was holding them back. They wasn't being treated fairly, the royal families and stuff, so they came over here. That was the purpose and the reason for them coming over here.
But when they
Now,
got
all of a
here
sudden, when they got here, they want to change.
and be the monarch.
Oh yes.
And that's what's happening right now.
That is
We think that what's happening is we got a man who pretended like he came,
Oh, God.
and the subjects are what's that boy name with from Alabama we talked about? Sessions.
Sessions.
You look at all of these Republicans right now that's bowing down to him.
That's right.
What they bowing down to is a new king, because what they want to do is put all of these judges in Supreme Court positions so that they can control the vote forever.
That's right.
Unless we use voter education.
That's right.
And unless we use the roots on why you should vote.
That's right.
And all of these preachers, I'm going back to them now.
All right.
When they don't get involved with this, what y'all need to do, let me be the pastor that walks the community and point my finger at them and say, you ain't no damn good. Because Jesus said you ain't no good. That's what Jesus did when he came. If you remember, the person who played the role of district attorney in Jesus' trial was Caiaphas. Good God Almighty, I'm finna preach now. Because I know these preachers don't know what they're talking about. They don't read. They don't get involved in nobody's life. They don't care nothing about nothing but the self-centered foolishness that they can come up with. It's time for them to pay homage to the God that they claim they serve and get out here and at least do health care.
You know what? Most of them are afraid of their own members' kids. They don't know what's going on in the street. And they don't.
And that's true.
Most of them are afraid of their own members' kids.
That's true.
And that's what we need to.
But that's what happens. That's what happens in all societies when you don't stay involved with courage. You be scared of your own shadow.
And that's on the agenda with the Georgia group
That's right.
around the state of Georgia. These are some of the things that we're going to be pressing, especially what's deal with the federal side, what's deal with the state, and then locally. Now the state situation is, and we talked about this last year, we did something about it, a little small crease, but we ain't did nothing yet. Because we got to watch and see what's going on, because we got a lot of them little scary fellas, white or black.
That's correct.
In office right now in doing various things. Now this is still talking about our money. Still talking about our money, not their money. They just oversee of the money.
That's correct.
But it's our money.
That's
it's
right.
the increased black participating in state contract.
Say it again, brother.
In state contract.
What about banks?
I'm going to go a little further. Spending
Okay.
for less than, far less than, in other words, right now we're talking about, right now we only getting 2%.
No, brother. I know you didn't say 2%.
2%.
I know you didn't say 2%.
That's what
you didn't say it for 2%, brother.
That's what the record said, but the census, the 1910 census, 2010
census, right?
U.S. Census, tells us that black Georgia, there were people in Georgia, compose 30%
Of the population.
of the population.
And that's another thing we got to pay attention to is this census that's coming up.
That is correct. We got to be on the top of that.
That's
We
correct.
got to get with Tillman and push him and help him and whatever, but we need to be on the top of that.
That's correct.
And I told him he needed to be, we can bring him on the show and let him do some more things because he ain't doing quite enough either. So anyway, we're going to be pushing that.
Be careful
Now-
to be excommunicated.
Now, but I'm gonna bring him on, he'll fire him up.
He's from Glenn County, so he'll be all
Well,
right.
he all right. That's my
Yeah,
boy.
he'll be all right.
That's my
I'm
boy,
trying to
that's
check Chester.
my Now, this thing here that I see on here, but I look in here, and I got to talk to Nestor because I don't see this bill in there. I see where they were playing with it, but they ain't did nothing. And that is, this hate crime bill.
Oh yeah.
What are y'all picking up?
Well, the hate crime bill should be definitely looked after because trust me, hate is on the rise. If you look at what happened with a whole lot of actions
They put all that stuff
come from the authorities, okay? The authorities right now done put up some laws. One of the laws is stand your ground. You know, stand your ground ain't no joke, my brother. Okay.
No.
You
See,
right.
because Georgia probably, I guess they'd hook them in but Georgia's one of them damn states that don't have no law. Georgia is one of five
They
states.
got 2 strikes and you're out, don't they?
One of 5 states with no law. No.
That's true. You mean the hate crime? Hate crime.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, we also talk about money
Yes, sir.
in locally and all the kind of. Number one, that we talk about other things too. We also talk about with the group in Atlanta and around the state that we have things in our area,
Right.
especially in Savannah.
Right.
And we're on the top of this, and we're gonna continue to stay on the top of it. That is this tax dollars,
Yes, sir.
splosh and e-splosh, with all these money being spent and this and that. So we on the top of this and gonna make sure that black get their fair share and continue. You gotta stay on the top of them because you let your guard down the minute they be done spending and hired and come around, a project done gone and build and this and that, and you ain't got nothing. So that's why you got to stay on the top of their butt. Make sure that them suckers who you put in office and vote for, that they vote the right way and do the right thing. So those things, you, community folks, who our dollars and cents, we got to stay on the top of those things. Then they're also talking about supporting black banks and other kind of things. And that's something that individuals have to do. We ain't asking the government or no taxpayers, because that's your money. And you should want to support those banks because those are the banks that are going to support you. And you'll be able to borrow and stuff like that. But I'm going to say this and I'm going to back off. Another thing is that when you're borrowing money, no matter what you put there, because a lot of people, they put a few dollars there, and they'll come back and they'll say, well, you know, I put so-and-so there, and they wouldn't let me have this, and they wouldn't let me have that. But that money is being, is secured and this and that, and the rules and regulation are under the federal law, so all of those things have to be occurred to. And because a lot of times, a lot of people think, let me have this. No, but you credited in good this and that and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, there's still education.
Well, let me educate you
Go
about
ahead.
that credit
Go ahead.
rating, okay? I'm a pretty old fella. I'll be 80 years old next year. Okay? And when I grew up, when I was born, we were not allowed to basically have our deliveries in nobody's hospital. We were delivered by midwives.
Me too. That's
That's right. All of us basically were in the Gullah Geechee community was delivered by midwives. That's right. But what happened? What happened with that credit score that you mentioned? What happened with that credit score that you mentioned is that when I was my mother's firstborn, when my head cleared and my shoulders got squared away, some entity pushed the midwife aside and looked me in my face and said, your credit score is low. So credit scores for us have been low since the beginning of slavery. The reason I'm here to tell us that thing is because what we need to do is significantly look at the idea of how do we collectively come together to influence the decisions that they make with these banks to commensurate with the population's needs. Now, you ain't gonna have no bank, colored, white, or otherwise, that ain't answering to the major system that they done put up.
Yes.
You take one of the credit reporting operations, that thing out of Atlanta, they call it with an Equifax. Equifax is so corrupt. It was so corrupt that they had to rein it in last year. Well, we need to have our own credit rating now. We need to have a message that says, and we try to get our folk to do this, start a community bank that is regulated by the community instead of having it regulated by the idea. And what we try to do is get our folk to take our tax dollars to start that bank. Use the tax dollars that's in our immediate area, put it in a community bank. Now what happens is, do what Maynard Jackson them did in Atlanta. When a contract came to Maynard Jackson and etc., and it didn't have its fair share in it, they tore the contract up and rebid it until it was an equitable contract. You cannot keep going with the same old foolishness we got, with the same old representatives that we got, believing that you're going to change the economic structure of this particular community without having a conference that deals with economic. Now, Pendergrass asked us to do this, and we said we were going to do this. We said we were going to have a conference in the first district at Jekyll Island, at that convention center, so that we can come together to talk about exactly how we're going to marry the power of Savannah with the power of Brunswick, with the power of Hinesville, with the power of all those other 17 communities, so we can come up with the formula to do this work.
We want to have, like you said, the meeting and other things, but it's a lot of pinhole in it. It's a lot of sitting down and
That's right.
and going through things and do something. When you start talking about using someone else's money, that money, in a sense, nobody can just give you their money or put it out there any kind of way if it ain't no kind of protection or something around.
I'll agree.
Because number one, all these old fast slickers out here want to come and get this and get that. And I know because I deal with credit unions and deal with all these things, sits on the board every day. So I do know that when you're talking about finance, that's another thing. They will have to come up with something different where they will have to show people money and this and that. See, because it's hard. In other words, it's something that you can sit down and look at various things because of the situation that you yourself is not going to take your money and give it to somebody, and you look at his credit record or one of those type of things, and that's he ain't paying or hadn't paid this or that, and that's the only thing you got to go on.
I'll agree with that.
You know, these kind of things.
But we have to think.
Now see, right now, what we are trying to do, and this is in DC, the federal, which control revenues, banks and what have you, they got a cap. And this again, people who you elect to serve you, who votes on these things. They have the money control to vote on these bills when they comes up. Here's a situation where our credit union, like large credit union, credit union that got a good bit of money, like our credit union is a large credit union. So what we was trying to do is to lift the cap. They got us limit to about $12 million.
Right.
That's for minority, small businesses and stuff, because that's the people who we want to lend money to.
That's right.
They hold us and say, you cannot,
Do
got a limit of a certain amount. We tried to get this to go up to about 25 million.
Right. Right.
Which we can do a whole lot to help people, but right now, until that cap is lifted, we can't do anything because they still control the money. When I say control, because if anything happened, they have to replace all that money. So that's these are some of the things that can happen, but you got to get people who are in office to look at these things and make decisions on the things that you're talking about.
In 2007, George W. Bush was president of the United States of America. The folk who messed up all of the money and put the caps on it ended up getting a major bailout by George W. Bush and our black president, Barack Obama. What has never happened in our community, they have never concentrated economic change in our community based on what you just said. So if you have education based on the demand, when they finished in 2007, they finished with basically big regional banks getting all the money and slapping community banks out of business and holding credit unions to a lousy cap, when in fact what they should have done, and we should have been out there politically raising talk about the notion of us being able to make some mistakes with credit too, because they do.
But it's not just credit union. It is loan institutions.
That's correct.
Small banks and stuff was catching the.
They catch the devil. They put them out of business.
The small banks are catching the same thing. So they are controlled. So see, number one is that you got to. It's not like it's the Congress.
That's true.
Again, political education.
But that was the reason. That's the reason that we said forget the Congress. Forget the Congress. Use the power that you got locally. Okay. Have them come up with the community bank, with them doing the regulation of the community bank with your tax dollars. Therefore, they're accountable to you here in the community on what they can do and what they can't do. You see, until we look at the avenues that we need to come through, because believe it or not, in the little county I'm in, you wouldn't believe the kind of money they handle on a local basis. Huh? $35 million ain't nothing to sneeze at.
But
and then
you're right, but it's we had to come up with various rules and ways and other kind of things.
Business development.
We gotta go.
What?
Yeah.
What? I don't want to go.
Okay. So again, we appreciate you all. Thank you, Zach.
Oh, I love y'all.
Wes, I'll talk to you later, man. So, viewing audience, we hope that you got an eye full and in your ears is popping with. Hope that you got a lot of education out of this show tonight. I know you got it, if you be frank about it. because we tried to give it to you, and that's what we will be doing in the future, especially on this new show and everything else. So, see you later, good night.